And we are live. Croc Talk with Chris Croc. In just a moment, it's been way too long since I've had my friend and our former Texas DPS captain, with retired now with DPS captain Jason Jones, Newsmax border correspondent, counterterrorism, counterintelligence expert on all things border. Recently was embedded with the Mexican military. So much on getting El Mencho just recently, 24 hours ago. So we're going to get into that with Jason Jones. But first, I wanted to share this with you on Croc Talk with Chris Croc. It's brought to you by IRSprob.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversies, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. IRSprob.com. That's IRSprob.com. And here he is, my friend Jason Jones. It's been a while, friend. How are you, first of all, and how's everything going? You've been out there, been busy.
It has been an incredible year since President Trump has taken over, and especially to watch the change in Mexico as they are now focused on going after these cartels. It's incredible times, and great to be with you, Chris.
Great to be with you, my friend. Okay, tell me this. Let's get right to El Mencho. How big of a deal was this? And how much of a hand did President Trump have, and did we have, in getting El Mencho, who apparently was the most powerful narco in all of Mexico as of recently?
This is, without question, the most decisive and strategic strike against the heart of the cartels in Mexico. President Trump's involvement here is actually very little, but also very important because he has played a major role in, one, designating these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, but also look at what he's done. He's put a lot of pressure on the Mexican government. Now, with that being said, that is about the extent of this operation. That pressure, along with one intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft, provided the intelligence support that you heard the White House talk about. That's what they provided. But this operation was Mexican Army driven. It was their intelligence. It was their Mexican Special Forces Corps, by the way, who I embedded with last year and got to see them in action firsthand in Mexico. And then these men went in, got him, killed him, captured several of their leaders, including his stepson, killed others. And then from that, America and Mexico, and of course the world, witnessed as the violence spread, what we call revenge violence, in 20 states across that country. Now think of that. You've heard me talk for years, Chris, about the breadth and scope and size of these cartels. 20 states saw violence, including over 250 roadways blocked. This cartel's in 48 countries around the world. It is no joke. So this was a major operation. But here's what I will tell you about this. We're not out of the woods yet. While the revenge violence you've seen is phase one, phase two is because of his ties and because he was creating a federation where he had basically links and ties into all these cartels. One, that validates the breadth and scope of that violence in 20 states, but it also shows you that the secondary impacts that we're going to be feeling is these internal battles between the smaller cartels that were working with him. They will start to face each other and go on savage, if you will, against each other as they try to get new leadership as well.
Jason, this is obviously massive, okay? But how fast before somebody else takes his place to continue the Jalisco New Generation cartel?
It's already happened. It happens overnight, but this is the point of it. You know, this is not, now for your audience, it's very important to understand, this is not the capo strategy of the Calderon administration and Nieto administration, but he was a major player in the day-to-day operations of his cartel and working with the others. So this is a strategic blow to them because this will have a massive ripple effect into the other cartels. So even using network theory, which is where we want to go moving forward, going after the company and the key nodes within these, the rotten lawyers, the CPAs, and the politicians, he had to be taken out. And it is a strict, massive, I just can't stress to the listener and the viewer out there how important this hit was, because now everything else can fall into place.
Jason, let me ask you a few other questions, because Claudia Sheinbaum, I am totally suspect of her. I mean, she is in the tank for Cuba, in the tank for Venezuela, was not happy about what we did there. To me, she's not a real friend of ours, but you know a lot more than I do. Because I mean, the highest levels of Mexican government, to me, and what little I understand compared to you, is that they're compromised. Tell me what the deal is. Is Claudia Sheinbaum for real, or is this just because President Trump is forcing them to do this?
Well, they are for real. First, let's look at this for a second. They are a new administration, just as President Trump, right?
Yep.
And even though that it's the same party linked to the AMLO administration that was her predecessor, she is a different leader. Look, I have embedded with their military. I have embedded with their Navy. I was just down there in December off the Pacific coast, as their Navy in 13 months has seized 51 tons of cocaine. So here's where we really are. In phase one was a logistical focus. They were trying to secure the border, get control of their own government, learn the problem set, go after these cartels through logistics, attacking the drugs, basically. And I've been talking about, as we go into 2026, one of the areas we have to go into is start attacking the cartels themselves. You just saw it take place. Now, does that mean that they're going to do everything that we want? Your listeners need to know, no, they're a different country from ours. They have a national strategy. But President Trump has applied a lot of pressure there. And what I will tell you is that I have personally met with Secretary Harfuch, who is the head of public security. I have personally met with the Secretary of the Navy, Admiral Morales, and I have personally met with the Secretary Travia, who runs the Army. These are good people who want to protect their citizens and protect their country. But as you saw, when you go after these cartel bosses,
yes,
their predecessors have allowed a problem to occur in Mexico beyond anything we've seen. So you have to have a good strategy, how you go after it, because what we just saw is a great example of how bad it can get. And that's what they're trying to prevent. Now, I will be very frank with you, though. I do believe 100% that President Trump's pressure has allowed this to happen, no doubt. But I will tell you this, success breeds success. A lot of people are not aware. As I'm talking to you, most people are probably not aware that in just 13 months, they took over down 2,000 labs in Mexico. I've personally seen one that was doing 200 kilos of methamphetamine per day it was producing. So see, Americans are not aware that in Mexico, they've lowered violence by over 37% in 13 months. This is stunning. So Secretary Harfuch, his background is very unique. He's not a typical politician, as we see all the time put in positions. He's a pipe hitter. He was the police chief of Mexico City. He was extremely effective. And that's why you see an intelligence-led operations approach. And you are seeing the success we are seeing. We got a long way to go, Chris, but major successes in a very short period of time.
Jason Jones, retired captain with DPS, head of border operations, counterintelligence, counterterrorism, now Newsmax border correspondent, embedded with the Mexican military, embedded on our side all the time with his former colleagues at the border. A couple other things here. One of the things that is really on a lot of people's minds, and Texans, of course, Governor Abbott telling people to take shelter. We have a Congressman, Senator, U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno, saying that they're targeting Americans. Are they really, in Puerto Vallarta, for example, are they really targeting Americans? The Jalisco New Generation cartel, now their leader's been taken out. Are they really targeting Americans? And what would you say to people like you or me or Texans that might be willing to go to Playa del Carmen, or that might be willing to go to the other side, of course, where this is going on in Puerto Vallarta or Cancun? I mean, is this kind of no-go from now on? And how safe are the Americans that are there, the Texans that are there right now?
Okay, to answer your first question a little bit about what Governor Abbott is doing, the reason he's surging with Texas Rangers, troopers, aircraft, etc., has to do with the secondary discussion that I had with you about Permito, who runs Cartel de Golfo, that's right across from McAllen, Texas, in Reynosa. He was very close to El Mencho. And now that El Mencho has fallen, he doesn't have the backup that he did. So now his own cartel is feeding on him. This is that part of that internal violence I was talking about. Second, yes, we heard the same things. We have not seen as of yet, knock on wood, that they took any Americans hostage. Immediately, the State Department came out and told all Americans to shelter in place. A lot of the beach resorts and others locked all Americans and their visitors inside their centers and had them hold. So, we haven't luckily seen that as of yet, and we've been monitoring that. I'm not saying it's not going to
Right.
happen, but as you know, flights have stopped from coming in there, so we can't get our citizens out of there as of yet. But, look, we've got a long way to go here. But this is how many times, Chris, did I come on your show
Yes.
and talk to you about, look, Americans don't go to Mexico right now. They're having a lot of issues and a lot of problems. That kind of subsided. And then something like this, a very successful and operation that we saw take place can cause this much violence. It tells you and illuminates the breadth and scope of these cartels that I have tried and tried with everything I am to warn about, and why we work so hard to get the terrorism designation in this country.
And that happened, which is huge. That happened very, very big time. You have testified in front of Congress about these kinds of things. Jason Jones, retired DPS captain, head of border intelligence, counterintelligence, and counterterrorism at the time, now Newsmax border correspondent. Here's another thing that I really wanted to get into. You and I talked about doing, back in the day when Biden was president, we talked about doing counter strikes, I should say, on the narco labs. We talked about doing you recommended doing joint exercises, our military, not exercises, but hits with their commandos going in and taking these narcos out. Why isn't that happening? It looks like Scheinbaum does not want any of our stuff to be involved in their stuff. Why hasn't Trump taken out the labs with strikes, for example?
Well, he hasn't needed to. He has convinced the Scheinbaum administration to go after him. They've taken down over 2,000 mega labs. This is, in fairness to the president, he has done an incredible job of working with the Mexican government. From their side, they are concerned about one thing, and that is the protection of their sovereignty. They have possessed and always have had the ability to go after these cartels. The problem is that they didn't have the political will. Those soldiers down there, and I can tell you, to all your listeners, I have embedded with the Army in Culiacan, down in Sinaloa, one of the most violent regions of Mexico, watching them in action. I've gone off the Pacific coast with them. I've been along your border inside Juarez with them as they do mirroring operations to hold the line against these cartels, and the Juarez cartel and La Línea. They're doing incredible work. They really are. I have been stunned, and this is truly a different administration in Mexico. Now, that doesn't mean they're perfect. That doesn't mean they do everything we want them to do. They have their own strategy and how they're moving forward, and that's okay as long as we make progress against the cartels. Second to that, though, the cartels are fighting back, and what you are seeing take place is one of the biggest things. This is much bigger than just about El Mencho. This is, if you can get him, you can get any of us.
There you go.
And that's why you see them so fearful that for the first time, look, they are using their propaganda wing. They are using their news media networks down there with whom they've compromised. They are putting so much pressure on the Scheinbaum administration. Right now, that administration needs our support, because what they are doing is right, and this is hard work. They lost, just so everyone knows, Secretary Harfuch put out today 27 of their soldiers between National Guard
27
and
Mexican soldiers, lost.
So far, this isn't over. So, look, a lot of great men and women have sacrificed for this down there. What they do there protects us, and I am 100% behind them and supporting them, because this is what we've been waiting for, Chris, for a very long time, and we want them doing it, not our own troops.
So, Jason Jones, we're using, we're giving them our intelligence maybe from Reaper drones, MQ-9 Reaper drones, some kind of different drones that we have up in the sky, and sharing our intelligence with them in real time to help them take out these narcos. Is that accurate, the extent right now of our assistance?
Yeah, 100%. Our intelligence has helped drive going after everything from labs to boats that have been seized, in good collaborative effort. And I think that's what most of our citizens reasonably want. I don't believe they want our soldiers in harm's way on this. They want the Mexican government to do that. And with that, from the Mexican standpoint, that's what they want as well. They want sovereignty protected and to be able to have the opportunity to go after these cartels. And in fairness, this is a new administration. Remember, as a reminder to everyone, they came in 2 months before President Trump. And if you remember, I was coming on your show saying we're in a very unique place here.
Yes.
We have the ability to have two new administrations with no baggage, no background. They can start fresh together. We saw it was a little rough at first, And then all of a sudden, boom, they took off going after the logistics. Now in 26, going after the cartels themselves. And that is a good progress supporting their national strategy in Mexico.
Jason, a few things on what do you think about Trump blowing up the narco boats?
Love it. Don't like it. Love it.
Good.
And it is
Why?
it is the right move because we are under a cocaine bonanza. And I'll tell you, one of the things that our government just doesn't do well, ladies and gentlemen, is they don't tell you the breadth and scope of the problem, just like they did with the cartels.
Yeah.
Right now in South America, specifically Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru, most Americans are not aware that they have more than doubled the production of cocaine. If for those of you that are older and you remember the cocaine problem we had in Miami and the Miami Vice here and the Miami Vice days, it's not a a South American, U.S. problem. It's a global problem. The reason that we see Ecuador so involved right now is because they're shipping so much cocaine overseas to Europe, to New Zealand, and Australia. So you need to know that there's a reason why we have struck these boats, because I will say it again and again, we can't arrest our way out of this. And by the way, now what you're not being told, that I'm going to tell you right now, is that they are now stealing aircraft in South America. And now to get around the boats being bombed, they're literally flying aircraft with pilots who don't even have pilot's license.
Wow.
And then crashing them into Guatemala and other places. And all this is going to come out in the coming weeks.
Wow. Thanks for that tip. Fentanyl. Where are we with fentanyl right now, as far as production entering into this country, etc., with in the second year of the Trump administration?
Well, some of the cartels, not all, but some, specifically Cartel de Golfo, have said that if anybody is moving fentanyl through their area, they will kill them, including their own, because they are so fearful of the Trump administration. And they know that they have to lower the deaths. If you look at a lot of the labs that are taken down in Mexico, actually, they're not fentanyl labs. Most of them are methamphetamine labs. So a lot of the fentanyl production has moved to South America, and it has also moved to Canada. So the fentanyl that we're seeing now, unfortunately, even though we've had a good reduction of 21% under President Trump's administration of fentanyl poisoning deaths, the problem is it should actually be much higher, but we're seeing an introduction of carfentanil, which is one of the most deadliest fentanyl. You have regular fentanyl, parafentanyl, then carfentanil. And that, we believe, is coming in mostly now from Canada, where the cartels have moved their operations. And, we should be a lot lower in the deaths, Chris, than we are right now.
The folks with Jalisco New Generation Cartel, which was headed by Mencho until yesterday, bodyguards armed with 2 rocket launchers fired on pursuing troops with the heavy armament. What kind of armament do these narcos have, for example, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel?
Well, let me go back to 2015 when they conducted Operation Jalisco. It was one of the biggest military failures under President Nieto's administration. This was the operation where they actually shot down a helicopter as it was on its final approach to land, and they were conducting ground and air operations to capture El Mencho. And he literally said to the president of Mexico, "If you do that again, I'll come for Mexico City." No one has gone after El Mencho since 2015 until this operation. So how did they shoot down those aircraft? Well, they used RPGs and anti-tank weapons, along with shutting down 14 municipalities back then. I know this stuff very well. I've been living and breathing it. And that's why I say, a lot of very brave men put themselves in a lot of harm's way to go after El Mencho. And that's why I give, and I will say it again and again, the National Defense Forces and the Army a lot of credit for this operation, and to those men whose lives have been lost. Look, their sacrifice, it's a big deal, and we should all remember it. They went into tremendous harm's way to protect us all.
Jason Jones, retired Texas DPS captain, which at that time head of border operations, counterintelligence, counterterrorism, and of course now Newsmax border correspondent, among many other things. One journalist writing that took a picture, had a picture of all these different wristbands that were thrown to the ground as they entered the border illegally under the Biden administration, saying Biden administration were lining the pockets of the cartels like the Jalisco New Generation cartel, paying thousands, sometimes tens of thousands per head to be smuggled into the U.S. Color-coded cartel bands was in the picture there. How much more wealthy and powerful did Joe Biden make the narcos in his 4 years?
We've never seen the amount of money that they made under the Biden administration. That story you just talked about, I broke that in February of 2021, just inside Roma, Texas, when we first started seeing men, women, and children wearing those wristbands. And that was an adjustment into from human smuggling into the trafficking of men, women, and children through what we call debt bondage. And look, to validate to the folks how strong it made them, look at what you just saw take place in 20 states over the killing of one man.
Mm-hmm.
Think of that.
Jason, rate the Trump administration, how they're doing so far as handling inside of the country, getting rid of the threat, Tren de Aragua, all the illegals and the violence and the mayhem they bring with. Rate the Trump administration so far, and tell me where we're at with Tren de Aragua globally and locally in our country.
What President Trump has done is he has designated them as a foreign terrorist organization, and as many know, also created this, Alien Enemies Act, which gives him a lot of authorities overlaid with Title II of the presidency. So with all of that, he has put it, whether it be Tren de Aragua, whether it be the cartels, or whether it be MS-13 and others, he has put them all on notice that the full breadth and scope of the United States government is coming for you. This is why you've had voluntary deportation of 1.9 million people.
Yes.
That's been the big win under the Trump administration. Now, I will tell you, this may surprise you, these surge operations that ICE has been conducting, and God bless all these ICE agents and Border Patrol agents who are doing this on our behalf, as much bad press as they're getting, the data really doesn't show that many arrests. The daily averages on this may surprise a lot of your listeners. It's between 1,500 apprehensions per day and 1,900. Well, many may say, well, Jason, that's a lot of people. Well, you have to remember, under Biden and Harris, we averaged 10,000 illegal entries per day that we knew of, never mind the gotaways. So we have got to get these numbers up. And I'm a big believer, and I have told this to Secretary Noem's people, and I told this to Tom Homan, you have got to incorporate the 287G program, not just these jump out tactics, so that local and state law enforcement of almost million lawmen across this country can support you. The feds, guys, Chris, they don't have enough people. Great work, great men, God bless them. But you don't have enough of them. And why in the world Kristi Noem has not built out the best 287G program, publicly released it? I'll tell you why. Because what no one wants to be open and honest about is many Republican states don't want to incorporate it. They won't tell you that. But I'm, you know me, I'm a straight shooter.
Yes.
And that's why 287G, you know who's leading the country on that right now?
Who?
Florida. It is the national model. He has mandated, the governor out there, DeSantis, has mandated every state agency and every local agency under his authority will be engaged in 287G. And what is that doing? Not only is it the national standard, it is pushing out illegal aliens into every other state, because he's basically said, I don't care where you go, you don't come here.
Yes.
And that is public safety at its best.
So, in other words, Governor Abbott and the Republicans controlling Texas, your home state and mine, have failed us.
Failed us. Don't let anyone lie to you. They passed a terrible law. They stand on national television and they tell you how they're all fully involved in 287G. In each region of the state and of the state police, you've only got a few agents even certified, and all they do is work with ICE. That's it.
So we need 287G, meaning every jail, because supposedly in the state of Texas, every jail that has, every county that has 100,000 people or more must do 287G or a form thereof. And 287G is for those who don't know, is giving you ICE training to the folks who are in the jail, so that every time we cuff somebody and stuff them into the jail, whether they're guilty or not, we run them through and we know if they're illegal or not. And that way there's a detainer for ICE to come pick them up whenever their case is adjudicated or what have you, right?
That's one part of it. You also have two others. One, that you can get warrants on them. And the most important one is what we call the task force model. And this is what most sheriffs and police departments don't want to talk about, because that means that every one of their deputies and every one of their police officers could be trained in 287G.
Yes.
And when they go about their normal duties, they conduct traffic stops. They respond to family violence operations. Guess what they can do?
Pull it up.
Use their normal operations and arrest them. But see, this is what they don't tell you.
So we want the task force model. My gosh, and that's what Florida does. That's amazing, Jason, for sharing that with us. That's very, very, very important.
Devil's always in the details, Chris. It's always in the details, and these politicians are playing us all. I say it all the time.
Last question. In the 4 years of Biden, how many illegals do you think we truly got into this country, flooded in? And second of all, what would you guess Trump, at the rate he's at right now, will get out of this country in the 4 years that he has?
I really believe that he's probably pretty close when he talks about the 20 million that made it in. Those numbers make sense when you look at the known gotaways, the numbers that we have. So I think it's somewhere around 20 million. But at the end of the day, he will not reach it. Bringing people in illegally is much easier than being able to get them out. There are so many roadblocks. And then when you take a government divided like we have at the federal level, they are doing everything they can to slow roll what he's doing. Sure, there's a lot of great men and women doing great work, but in DHS, in FBI, and in some of these, it's basically you have two agencies. You have one part of it that works for the administration, the other part that does everything they can to slow roll, and that's what they're doing.
Jason Jones, retired DPS captain, former head of the border operations for Texas, including counterintelligence and counterterrorism, now a Newsmax border correspondent, and so much more. Jason Jones, my friend, it's been way too long, and thank you for coming on the show tonight. I know you've had a huge day with El Mencho being taken out, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything you do.
Chris, great to be with you. And I would ask all your listeners tonight, say a prayer for these soldiers who lost their lives. What they've done down there has truly made a difference for us all.
Absolutely. God bless you, buddy. God bless you, brother. Thank you. There he goes.
Okay.
There he goes. Jason Jones. That guy is a national treasure. He's testified a lot before Congress, and he's come on my show over the years so many times. He's a friend. We are friends, and I'm grateful for him. That's a warrior's warrior. A hero's hero, laying it out like the truth is. So you heard him. Texas laws suck, basically, as far as 287G. We want the task force model where, just like in Florida, we don't have this. I did not fully know that. From what I read in the Texas law, if you have 100,000 people or more in a county, you have to do one of the 287G things, which is either the task force, which is what we should force everyone to do like they're doing in Florida. Because can you imagine that? Every single Fort Worth police officer, every single Dallas police officer, Frisco police officer, Waxahachie police officer, you name it, Denton, etc., they would be able to pull up when they stop anyone and see if they're an illegal upon a regular traffic stop, or any communications with somebody in their day-to-day business that there's, like you said, family violence, any kind of calls. We are not anywhere near where Florida is, and that is on the shoulders of the Republicans that control this state and Governor Greg Abbott, and so many more. I'm grateful that he pointed that out. He is a Texan, man. He is a Texan and through and through, and a man's a man. So thank you to Jason Jones. Wow. You heard it here. Now, I want to get into Team USA. I also want to get into a lot more, oh boy, on Eagle Mountain, Saginaw ISD, and Boswell High School. There's a lot of stuff still flying with those ice walkouts. And I've got more, big time, about Texas Congressman Tony Gonzales. He needs to resign now. More and more Republican of his congressional colleagues, including Texas congressional colleagues, are demanding he step down. Salacious, disgusting texts are now coming out today that allegedly show him asking really inappropriate and worse things of his employee, according to these texts that were just released today. But first, I do want to tell you that Randy Martin from IRS Prob is one of my great sponsors. He is the title sponsor. Randy is the title sponsor of Croc Talk with Chris Croc, and he's been my CPA for my business and my wife's business for over 7 or 8 years now, and I thank God for Randy. Randy helps good people with IRS problems, whether it's for your business, your personal stuff, whatever. If you have problems with the IRS, Randy Martin is your guy. IRSprob.com, local right here in Dallas, Fort Worth. He's in North Dallas, right by Beltline and the Tollway. And if you're out of state, he can help you too. I made sure to ask him about that because whether it's my parents, your parents, or anybody out there that might need help in any part of this country, he can do it. Helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. IRSprob.com, IRSprob.com. Randy Martin. Okay, let's get right to the Olympics. This is some amazing stuff. I mean, dude, I spent the weekend at a nice resort in San Antonio with my beautiful wife, our late Valentine's Day weekend, and boy, did we just love. I just freaking watched the Olympics 24/7. It was incredible to just sit there in front of a massive big screen and be so proud of our country. Let's look at some of the things. Jack Hughes, number 86. This young man lost his teeth and he won the gold. He and his brother were just instrumental in Jack and Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes, his brother, won the game-winning overtime goal as we defeated Sweden in the quarterfinals. And then Jack, who you're about to see, provided the winning goal in the U.S.-Canada gold medal matchup. This was so historic and so massive. We've not won it since 1980 with that amazing defeat of Russia during the Cold War. Here we go. This is Jack Hughes with his teeth knocked out, saying how much he loves this country. He loves America. Here we go.
And we're the gold medalists, so I'm so happy that USA Hockey's on top.
You not only have that as a reminder, you got that as a reminder too. Did that just show about this game?
I'm lucky I'm from the best country in the world, and we got great dentists there too, so I'm lucky I'm American, and they're going to fix me right up.
Standing there listening to the anthem, what's going through your head?
Just so proud. I'm so proud to be American. I'm so proud of this group. I'm so happy that we could win. You know, we have so many people here supporting us. We have so many people back home supporting us, and you know, we're so thrilled with how this whole tournament played out, and you know, just an unbelievable moment for you.
Did you hear that? He's proud of being an American. Did you catch that? He's a proud American. He's not ashamed like Megan Rapinoe. He's not taking a knee. Let's look at some of these pictures from our winners today versus the losers of the past who shame and guilt us and would have us take a knee. The HuffPost was tweeted this out. If waving the American flag or chanting USA turns you off right now, you're not alone, says the HuffPost. That is, unfortunately, the American liberal and the sadness of hating your country or at least being ashamed of your country, wanting to bow to people like former President Hussein Obama and all this kind of garbage. Look at the difference right here. Look at this. Look at the dramatic difference. Let's try that again here. Hold on one second. Look at the difference right there. There's Megan Rapinoe, who in my opinion, despises this country. She wants men to play against women, which, by the way, she played a men's team and a team of 15-year-old, actually a boys' team. A team of 15-year-old boys beat her and the women's team. But now that she's out of the sport, it's what Roger Waters, former head of Pink Floyd, who, of course, is a crazed leftist, but that's okay. Roger Waters called it the bravery of being out of range. Now that she's retired, she wants men to play in women's sports. And take all the glory. But a miserable woman taking a knee for the national anthem of this country. And there's Jack just being an amazing American. Jack Hughes, look at that guy. Let's go back to that again. It's just so beautiful to see him. Look at that difference. He's like Rocky, isn't he? Look at him. I mean, you cannot get more picturesque and beautiful than that. Right there. That's awesome is what that is. All right, let's do a little bit more on this. Let's play. Oh, Cash Patel is supposed to be in trouble for chugging beer with the hockey team. If I heard right, Cash plays in an adult league. Apparently, is what I heard. I could have heard that wrong, but I heard that on Fox News during a 5 today. Somebody saying that Cash plays in a men's adult league or something like that. I don't give a frog's fat. You know what? This is great. He's partying with our team. He's our FBI director. Good. I love it. Like they're supposed to be ashamed. Let's go to Cash Patel chugging beers with the hockey team. If I'm not mistaken, that's the song where he says, "We'll put a boot in your ass." It's the American. We'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. Yes, absolutely, right up your butt, and we sure did. The men's team. Congratulations, guys! I'm real proud of you. And by the way, the women's team was refusing to come visit Trump or come to the State of the Union address. That's just so embarrassing. If I was one of the women's team members, or if my daughter was, because these are 20-somethings. Can you believe this guy? These young guys are only 24 years old, 3 years old, and look what they did for us. Look what they did for us. We got our pride. We got our pride back. I mean, this couldn't be more awesomely aligned with President Trump, American pride, American badassery, winning and claiming and loving your country, not being ashamed of it. It's absolutely beautiful. Here's a great picture that speaks volumes of Trump versus Biden. What's this? Doesn't that sum it up so perfectly? There's Trump at the top. His FBI Director, Kash Patel. There's Joe Biden at the bottom with a transgender guy drinking a Bud Light. That's one of the many reasons I will never touch a Bud Light in my life. I don't care if you get Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, or my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to drink Bud Light on a commercial. I ain't buying Bud Light for the rest of my life. I couldn't be happier that I think it's Modelo, a Mexican beer, has replaced Bud Light, and they will never get into that top 3, top 4, top 5, top 6. You can pull a million Clydesdales out of your rumps and have them doing something that's patriotic looking. I ain't buying your Bud Light ever, ever, ever. So, but if my daughter was on the women's USA hockey team, I would tell her, honey, just let's call the White House and say, my team isn't coming, but I'd like to go. Would you let me come? First thing they would say is, yes, we'll get you on a plane with the men. That's what I would do. If my daughter was one of those hockey players that won the women's medal, that's what I would do. I say, honey, you know what? Just because your team's not going doesn't mean you can't go. Let's call the White House. That's what I would do. We got a little bit more on the White House stuff because it's just too much fun and too good. Here's President Trump at the call. Let's listen to this. Is great. Here we go.
Watch 1 minute. 1 minute. And by the way, your goalie played not bad.
Howie, say hi. Howie, say hi to him.
How you doing, Don? I have seen hockey goalies have slightly worse games. It's unbelievable, and you were all unbelievable. And that team is pretty good you played. I don't know if it's not going to begin anytime soon, right? And, I tell you what, I just told my people 2 minutes ago, I didn't know they'd be calling. I said, we're giving the State of the Union speech on Tuesday night. I could send a military plane or something, but if you would like to, it's the coolest night, it's the biggest.
We're in.
Yeah.
Can you pick us up in Miami on Tuesday morning?
Yeah, Tuesday morning. Close the northern border. We'll get cash and we'll get the military to get you guys over.
I'm going to let's go.
Boys are going to the State of the Union.
The nice thing about being president is I can tell you, you don't have to worry about the weather or landing. So we don't care if it's snowing, if it's the worst blizzard, we'll be sailing through that sucker just like you did on the ice track.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, we'll do it at the White House anytime. What would really be cool, and we'll do the White House the next day, we'll just have some fun. We have medals for you guys. And we have to, I must tell you, we're going to have to bring the women's team. You do know that. I do believe I probably would be impeached, okay? But anyway, if you could work that out, I would be honored to have you. I'll introduce you to the whole...
I got it, boss. I got it.
Okay, you got it, Cash.
I'm on it.
Cash is doing it. I'm happy.
I'm fucking on it.
Congratulations. That was an unbelievable game. I don't know if one person that wasn't... Everybody that called me said, I'm watching the hockey game. I don't know if anybody that wasn't. And you're going to be proud of that game for 50 years as you grow older. I mean, it was amazing. So we love you guys. Congratulations. And I hope to see you, Cash, Tuesday night And I want to shake hands. I'm going to shake hands with everybody, but I got to shake hands with that goalie.
Tuesday night. We'll see you Tuesday night, Mr. President.
See you Tuesday night.
I'm driving the bus, boss. We're bringing the whole bus.
And there's supposed to be something wrong with that. There's supposed to be something that we're supposed to be ashamed about by that. That was freaking awesome. I was laughing. That was great. I mean, this is us being us and not being ashamed. The whole thing with the left is shame and guilt and canceling. The whole stuff with the right is having fun and being unabashed and unashamed and not worrying about it and just being you and being raw. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. By the way, the parents, or at least the mother of Jack and Quinn Hughes, the two champs there, of course, Jack, who lost his front teeth and got the winning goal, which is unbelievable. The mom is Ellen Weinberg Hughes, and yes, he's Jewish. Jack Hughes and possibly Quinn, I believe they're brothers. I think they're both Jewish, by the way, which came up during the five. Jessica Tarloff from Fox News was saying, yeah, they're Jewish. It was like, it was great because they were talking about this guy's Jewish, this guy's Jewish. Oh, they're Jewish too. It was great. Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, she's Jewish too. Anyway, but she is from here. She lived here for some time. Mrs. Weinberg Hughes was a multi-sport star growing up in Dallas, says the Dallas News. Hockey's been a constant in her life. Weinberger Hughes continued to play multiple sports when she suited up at the University of New Hampshire in the 80s and 90s. She ultimately played for the United States women's hockey team, earning a silver medal in 1992. Her husband, Jim, held a front office role at the Toronto Maple Leafs. Very interesting. Those guys are freaking Americana to the core. God bless them, and God love them. Now I want to get to Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD. I sent another response to Eagle Mountain, or a question to Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD and their spokesperson, which is, of course, on the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex. And, in fact, Boswell High School, where this controversy we're talking about is in North Fort Worth, under the Fort Worth ISD banner. And I asked them something specific, and we're going to get into a brand new story in the Star-Telegram about their ice walkout, because there's crap that's going to happen and there's some serious things going on. But first, I asked Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD and all their spokespeople, and CC'd Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott, and Governor Abbott. By the way, I texted out to Ken Paxton. Actually, I just texted it myself. He follows me on Twitter, and I texted out about, not texted, but I tweeted out about Ken Paxton having a massive lead tonight in a brand new poll over what's his name, Cornyn, and I couldn't be happier about that. So I tweeted that out earlier tonight, and Paxton retweeted it, and he was kind of going back and forth with me and on some good stuff on that. He was very happy to see all of y'all and me being excited at the latest poll. I should have printed it off, but I will. Here it is. Ken Paxton from Polymarket. The chances of winning, Paxton is now at 83%. He went up 11 points, a new high. Polymarket betting says Ken Paxton, 83% chance. John Cornyn, 15% chance of winning, to which I said yes. So, and a lot of people are pumped, and Paxton was chiming in on, responding to my tweet and such. By the way, so I sent out this tweet to Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, and about Principal Ryan Wilson of Boswell High School, who literally definitely seems to have his hands in this walkout in support of it, appears. And I'll play a video that explains why I believe he had his hands in this and why he appeared to support it, because of this video that the students shared with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and I'm going to play it for you again. This is right before the walkout happened, or at the beginning of it, and the principal of Boswell High School, Ryan Wilson, talking to them seemingly in support of it and saying we want to keep you safe, and not saying don't do this, not saying if you do this, this is what's going to happen. No if then, no Solomonic wisdom like in the Proverbs, where if you do this, then this will happen. None of that. More like, hey guys, seemingly approving it and supporting it.
Yesterday morning, students of Boswell High School decided to walk out of class around 10 a.m. and protest. There was email sent out to all parents regarding the situation. In the email, it was said this protest was not encouraged, and they were told to come back. What you're about to see is otherwise Principal Ryan Wilson actually doing the opposite and encouraging them to do it. Why would he do that? To cause controversy?
If anybody happened upon the wrong side of the street, or if somebody saw what you were doing, and heaven help us, decided they were going to try to oppose what you were doing, and got into some degree of physical altercation with you while you were trying to exercise your right, that's on me. That's on me as your principal, because I did not help you to create a space that is safe for you to exercise your right and speak to something that's obviously important to you. I want to help you in the sense that there's not just Boswell, it's Chisholm, it's Saginaw, it's Eagle Mountain. It's a collective effort.
Okay, you would be insane to not think that that piece of video and audio right there that came out that the Star-Telegram had already viewed and said they got it from students, you would be insane to not think that Principal Ryan Wilson of Boswell High School right there in North Fort Worth was literally supporting, in Fort Worth ISD, was literally supporting their walkout and what they were doing. He absolutely is in complete and total support of their walkout right there. I read it no other way, and I don't think it can be read any other way. So I sent this I reached out to Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD on February 11th, and I said, is this true? That, because this also was alleged that the principal, Brian Wilson, allowed Freedom Road Socialist Organization to lead students in a protest against ICE. EMS, Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, said that's a complete lie, it didn't happen. In response to my query on that, there was no training on campus, there was no approval, there was no involvement, just lies on social media that are getting people a lot of clicks. Now, you don't talk like that if you're a school district, just lies that are getting a lot of clicks. That's kind of childlike. So then I sent this today. I sent this, and I'm going to show you the picture that I sent to them and ask them directly on this, because I believe that they're dead in the water on this one. Let me show you this. So I sent this picture on Twitter. I sent it to them. I said, is the lady on the right one of your teachers in Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD? It looks like there's an ID. I wrote, it looks like there's an ID badge on her left wrist. Is that one of your employees? If so, why is she holding a sign protesting ICE and marching with your students on an ICE walkout? And I also tagged Ken Paxton and Governor Abbott. So I'll check right now to see. But that woman, to me, looks like she is, I'll be shocked if she's not an Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD employee. Look at that. Badge. Look at the phone she's carrying, recording this, and look at it in her left hand with her apparent badge, perhaps, from school, if it is, I don't know. She's holding a sign. So she's actively in the protest. And so I'll check right now on my email, or my Twitter account to see if they responded yet, but I think that's a teacher boycotting with the students, walking out from ICE with the students. And I'll check right now. I have not, as of right now, gotten any response to them. But I will let you know tomorrow's podcast, etc., when and if they respond, and I will keep hitting them on that because, first of all, I think that Principal Ryan Wilson absolutely encouraged this and was a part of it in what he just said there. And then second of all, if that's not a teacher, I'll be damned. That looks like a teacher protesting with them, which means she should, if she's found to have done that, she needs to lose her teaching license and be fired immediately. Now, this coming in from the Star-Telegram today. Boswell students say ICE walkout punishments are unfair. I love this. See, unlike Dr. Martin Luther King at his the King Museum, which is now a federal park, and I went to it when I lived in Atlanta. I was at the big radio station there in Atlanta prior to coming to DFW. And Dr. King said that any activist that's not willing to receive the punishments they get for their activism isn't worth anything. They don't believe in it. In other words, he sat in jail cells and said this. And he said, if you believe in a cause and you're not willing to go to jail or suffer the punishment or the consequences of you standing up and being civilly disobedient, then you don't believe in what you're doing. And they don't believe in it, because they're complaining and moaning about getting 2 days of in-school suspension. By the way, what's going to happen to Principal of Boswell High? What's going to happen to Principal Ryan Wilson for his role in what I just played for you? So the students are reportedly, some of them at least, and their parents are mad that some of the students, or if not all, are going to get two days of in-school suspension. Students and their parents say 2 days of suspension is over the top. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Wow. First world problems, first world fake protesters. They won't even accept a 2-day in-school suspension. What a joke. Eagle Mountain Saginaw officials say the parents could lose their prom, the children could lose their prom, the ability to walk at graduation. Star Telegram reporting today they allow or encourage students, hold on, let me go back. They may be marked absent if they participate in walkouts, and schools also risk daily attendance funding if they allow or encourage students to walk out of class. The agency, and I want the TEA to investigate this school, the principal, that teacher, if she is one, and how they handled all this. The agency, the TEA, also said the teachers who facilitate walkouts Is this one of them? Teachers who facilitate walkouts will be subject to investigation and possible sanctions that could lead to, including revoking their licenses, which I want the TEA to investigate, both Principal Wilson and that lady if she's a teacher. Students say they felt betrayed by leadership. Well, they should. They were right. When you heard what the principal said, saying, it's not just your school, it's this school, it's that school, it's this school. I'm worried about your safety. I want you to be able to. Unbelievable. They feel betrayed by the leadership. They should be, because he seems 110% behind them, cheering them on. Principal Ryan Wilson gave them tips, students have previously told the Star Telegram, on how to stay safe during their first planned walkout on ice on February 2nd, encouraging them to stay safe when taking a stand against something they clearly feel passionate about. Not saying, I don't care what your thoughts are. If you walk out, you're punished. No. By the way, I think I played for you some video the other day of, I can't remember if it was in Texas, I think it was, or maybe it was in Florida. One of the principals came out and said, if you walk from here, this is what's going to happen to you, and this is what's going to happen to you, and this is what's going to happen to you. And a bunch of the students walked back in and say, you know what, all right, I don't want to get that. So they went back in. Like half of them went back in. That's what a real principal would do, say, let me tell you something. Not I worry about your safety or do it with all these other people, all these other districts from nearby. No, saying if you do this, this is what's going to happen. Don't do it. Remember, they cannot disrupt school. Tinker versus Des Moines was a critical case in front of the Supreme Court during the Vietnam War. And anytime the student in protest is disrupting learning, they are violating the U.S. Constitution and can be removed, punished, etc. So, continuing on with this, another parent from Eagle Mountain, Saginaw, said if their child receives an in-school suspension for participating in the walkout, they would refuse the punishment and pull their child out of in-school suspension. Well, good luck with that. I hope you do. The parents and the students are right to be mad at their principal, who cheered it on from what I played for you there. Leaving school without authorization and substantially disrupting education environment is violation of the student code. I told you that. You cannot disrupt education. You can't do the kind of crap you're doing and disrupt people's education by getting up in the middle of class and leaving and making it seem like it's cool. If I'm a teacher and I'm teaching and students start getting up and walking out while I'm teaching, they're disrupting class. They're violating the Constitution and those other students' rights to have an education without it being disrupted. Tony Gonzales is done. I said it last week, but I'm going to say it even more. Tony Gonzales should be ashamed of himself. I believe the allegations that he had an affair with her, his subordinate, which is against congressional rules and ethics. And by the way, I'm going to share this with you about Tony Gonzales. First of all, texts have come out. More texts have come out tonight, including Tony Gonzales, according to these texts that were released. The allegations are that Tony Gonzales literally asked her if she would do anal sex. Some places blotted that out, but I want you to know how sick these texts allegedly are that he sent to her, that he allegedly sent to her. I'm going to read some of them to you, but let's play Punchbowl News, because listen, if Tony Gonzales somehow doesn't drop out, if Tony Gonzales somehow wins, you won't know if he's under congressional investigation. By the way, when congressional folks, and I interviewed the widower husband. I interviewed his attorney on Friday morning when I was on at San Antonio at KTSA, the big talk station there in San Antonio, and the congressional investigators were asked by media in San Antonio and such, is he under investigation? Is Congressman Tony Gonzales under investigation? And you know what they said? No comment. But Punchbowl News reported Friday morning that if he is under a congressional investigation, if there's a congressional finding, they're not allowed to say whether he's under investigation 60 days prior to or after an election, because they don't want interference. In other words, if Tony Gonzales is under investigation, which everybody and their brother thinks he is, if he's found to have violated the Congressional Ethics Code, which says you can't bed down with somebody in your office that you are superior over. If you're a congressman, you can't diddle your staffer. And we won't know if he's found to have violated that congressional law and ethics regulations. But if he does, and he did, we will find out 60 days later when it's too late, and he's voted out of when he's already in office again. And then what are we going to do? We're going to have this guy step down, and this SOB is going to lose that seat to possibly a Democrat? Get the hell out, Tony Gonzales. Here's Punchbowl News with the hammer laying it down with what I just said.
Tony Gonzales is facing an ethics probe over an alleged romantic relationship with a staffer who then died by suicide. The Office of Congressional Conduct, which used to be OCE, the Office of Congressional Ethics, which is an independent watchdog, has for months been looking into potential House rule violations related to the alleged extramarital affair between Gonzales and Regina Ann Santos Aviles, according to multiple sources. Santos Aviles died September 14th after pouring gasoline on herself and lighting herself on fire. She was married and had one child. Gonzales is married and has 6 children. This means that if Gonzales wins his March 3rd primary, he could face a House Ethics Committee investigation depending on what OCC found. OCC must make a referral to the Ethics Committee to request a full-scale investigation, including subpoenas for any lawmakers. Under its own rules, OCC is barred from making any referral within 60 days of an election, but the day after March 3rd, it could make a referral. Members are prohibited under Rule 23 from any sexual relationship with any employee under their supervision. Santos Aviles worked in Gonzales' office from 2021 until her death.
So I want to show you something here. I didn't get to show this to you until today. That is the home of the young lady who worked for Tony Gonzales, Congressman Tony Gonzales. That is her and her widowed husband. That's Adrian Aviles Santos Aviles' widowed husband. That is their home. When I saw that home, I says, it made me mad. You know why it made me mad when I look at this house? Look at that car. What's it worth? Look at that house. What's it worth? What's in the backyard? They got a tarp hanging out over there or something like that. Do these people look like they have money? Tony Gonzales has money. His net worth is at least $1 million. I looked it up. And he's a congressman. He's in his 3rd term right now. So my question for you is, my point, I guess, is this is a woman with little means. A young mother, married to a man, and they have one young son. She is, by all accounts, unstable. She reportedly attempted suicide a month before she self-immolated. Tony Gonzales, the filthy dirtbag, is demanding that they release the police report. He's implying somehow that the family is covering something up. Release the police report, he says. And the husband says, I don't want to release the police report because it'll release video showing my wife lighting herself on fire with her security cameras in the front of her house and killing herself. I don't want my son to ever see that. That's why I'm not releasing the police report. And here comes dirtbag Tony Gonzales inferring that somehow the family is covering something up through their attorney. And the attorney who I said I interviewed on Friday in San Antonio, we talked for a while. And they reached out months ago when it wasn't too close to the election and said, we want to talk to the congressman's attorney, Gonzales' attorney. And they said, in their letter, they sent a letter saying we can settle, we can do an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Anytime people have affairs, that a non-disclosure agreement is extraordinarily common. Ask Bill Clinton, ask Donald Trump, ask all sorts of politicians, Democrat and conservative people, whether they had an affair or not. NDAs are very common. And if you are found to have violated this congressional statute, the compensation can be up to $300,000 according to the Congressional Act that covers bedding down with your inferiors as a superior congressman. So the family's attorney just basically said, his name is Herrera. I think it's, I can't remember his first name, but it's Herrera. Barrero is the attorney's name. He's a power attorney down in San Antonio, and he basically says since the congressional statute for what you could be fined up to is $300,000, we'll settle with you and do an NDA, non-disclosure agreement for $300,000. Well, he refused, and so here we are. Today, text messages came out released by the widower husband, and as I mentioned, some of them you can see where Gonzales was, according to the texts that were from 2024, they were disclosed. This is from the Wall Street Journal. They were disclosed Monday that appear to show Gonzales pressing his regional director, Regina Santos Aviles, a married mother of one in that tiny house of little means, asking her to send him a sexy picture, quote unquote. In the test, he asked what her favorite sexual position is, and that's when he asked her reportedly about anal sex. He says he thought she was hot before she worked for him. And when he mentioned anal sex, she says, "This is too far, Tony. Absolutely not." Something to that effect. And then he texted her about one sex act, which is what I mentioned already. The text messages were provided to the Wall Street Journal by the widowed husband. Several people have now called out. Republican congressmen and women have called for him to get out, including Representative Brandon Gill, who I have a lot of respect for, from Flower Mound. Representative Lauren Boebert. Brandon Gill says America deserves better. Tony should drop out of the race. Anna Paulina Luna from Florida. And Speaker Mike Johnson says, quote, "I've told him he's got to address this with his constituents," which he has not done. He will not do because he wants to hang on for his dear life and get in there. Tony Gonzales, step down, get out of our seat before you lose it to somebody else. Congressman Nancy Mace, I know she's loony, but she also is calling for Gonzales to resign. And she says the woman, Santos Aviles, is gone now. Her son is growing up without his mother, and Tony Gonzales is campaigning like nothing happened, Mace said. That's exactly right. And by the way, it's important to say from the Daily Mail, they mentioned that Miss Aviles, the late Miss Aviles, responded twice, warning him he's going too far. The text went on till 1 a.m. So, Tony Gonzales, get out. Brandon Herrera is the guy who's running against him, by the way, and he's a big Second Amendment advocate. And he only lost to Tony by 500 votes in the last election. Or 400 votes. It was that close. So there you go. Now you know what to do. Congressman Ilhan Omar. Here's the difference between people on the left, Democrats and Republicans, when it comes to the State of the Union address. Trump invited the USA men's gold winners, USA men's hockey team. Ilhan Omar is announcing two guests she's bringing to President Trump's State of the Union speech tomorrow night. They were detained by ICE in Minnesota, including a woman seen in a now viral video being pulled out of her car by federal agents after they say she blocked traffic. This woman, I already went through this whole thing with you. I think it was the New York Post that had her whole rap sheet. The woman has lived all over the country, worked for all these total crazy leftist, hardcore leftist groups in D.C., in Indiana, and all over the place. She has several different times when she's running with the law and gotten in trouble. She is a professional, crazed, leftist, far-left lunatic activist. She pretended like she somehow accidentally got involved in ICE and got in their way, was blocking things by accident. When they called her bluff on this, because she is a far-left loon, and they yanked her out of the car, they cut her seatbelt. I played that for you on the podcast. And she's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to go to my doctor's appointment." That's one of the losers that she's bringing. That woman is a professional leftist activist who's been doing this professionally for 10, 15 years since she was in college and after college. So, as usual, what's her name? Ilhan Omar's, lying and bringing in people that are playing victims but are not. They're professional leftist agitators. Okay, I have to play this. This is insane. Did you hear about none of us are watching the BAFTA awards, British, whatever they are, for television and movies and stuff. But some idiot brought in a guy who apparently there was a special or a movie or something done about this guy, and he has Tourette's. And he literally yells out the N-word when black people are around. He literally yells out horrible, rude things because he has Tourette's. I'm not doubting the guy has Tourette's. But what you don't do is you don't bring a guy who has Tourette's to an awards ceremony that's broadcast live and have black people coming up to receive and give awards, and they're being called the N-word. And they didn't even know. Only people around the guy were warned he has Tourette's. He might yell some things. But none of the black actors that came up or presenters came up didn't know that. And this guy was yelling the N-word at them from the freaking crowd live. Watch this. Gotta watch this here. Alrighty, here we go.
Deborah and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to celebrate.
Sometimes my texts will shout the N-word.
Yeah.
Or
that can get you in trouble.
People misunderstand that and they see it as being racist.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I ain't racist.
You just can't control what's coming out of your...
can't control what is supposed to not be said.
Yeah.
Type thing, you know.
I don't know if you heard, but he literally yelled the N-word at these guys when they were up there. And they're like, why, are you freaking kidding me? So I don't care, dude, if you're yelling that out when you see black people. What that means is you don't go to the freaking awards show. The left can't figure this out. Some people shouldn't be in certain places at certain times. Because this is what DEI gets you. It gets you that. Wow, huh? This is a reporter, and check this out. Reporter Jeff Vaughn, a contractor, tells me that the cost per square foot to build a home in California has just crossed over $600 per square foot. And with that, the building company has decided they can no longer build in the Golden State, and instead they're looking to Texas, where the cost is $200 a square foot. Can you imagine that, going from $600 a square foot as a builder to $200 as a square foot, one-third the cost? That's in Texas, or in Florida, where building costs range from $150 to $180 per square foot. So you go from $600 per square foot to $150, $180, or $200. Or Arizona, where it's as low as $100 per square foot, the reporter says. Typical cost per square foot in 2025 for a new home ranges from $150 to $400 in America. Most projects clustering between $200 and $350 a square foot. It combines labor, materials, permits, overhead, minus the land costs and financing. So you can't do anything in California, and that's what Gavin Newsom's running on. What a disaster. That and offending people for saying he's stupid when he's at, possibly a predominantly black audience or whatever it was in Atlanta. Just a joke. I have dyslexia and not too smart, just like you guys. What? This is out of, I did this the other day, but in Tarrant County, you have Heritage Baptist Church and Heritage Christian Academy. The head pastor brought his son in, who's a sex offender, according to reports, who is accused of having sexual relations of some kind with a 12-year-old girl, convicted sex offender. At least he was indicted on it, and he had to register as a sex offender. So his dad, his pappy, Eric Crawford, temporarily stepped down from all leadership duties at Heritage Baptist Church, Heritage Christian Academy, pending a financial review. What do you mean? Fire the guy. He brought his son in, who's a registered sex offender, to work with people at a church when he's not allowed to be doing that. Fire them both. Fort Worth police have arrested his son, probably for violating his parole. One person says, I believe that Pastor Crawford is equally as guilty as his son for allowing access to children when he knew that it was illegal. Exactly. Fire them both. A financial review. I would get out of that church. If they don't fire him, I would get out of that church. And if they wait a few weeks and they're still thinking about it, get out of the church. There's been zero accountability, says one of the dads. They refuse to admit the wrongdoings. They're not getting rid of the people who were involved in that decision-making. Get out. Records show Caleb Crawford, his son, was indicted in 2016 for indecency with a child involving a 12-year-old girl. Required to register as a sex offender for life with a moderate risk level, meaning he had a moderate risk of reoffending. And so what does his dad do? Bring him into a church around children. Statement posted earlier this week on school's Facebook page. This is all from KDWF, Channel 4, Fox 4 here in DFW. A statement posted earlier this week on the school's Facebook page stated he had no responsibility or authority over students. His employment was terminated effective immediately. It doesn't matter if he was around kids or over kids. You brought a sex offender in and employ anyone involved, anyone that approved, anyone with knowledge, which is basically probably a lot of the people there. All of them got to go or you go. Get out. Texas Scorecard reporting Fort Worth police arrest private school pastor's predatory son. 31-year-old Caleb Crawford arrested by Fort Worth police today or yesterday and booked in the county jail Friday. Friday. He's charged with violating a sex offender's duty to register for life and annually. How sick. How sick. You remind me of the former head of Gateway Church, Robert Morris, who lied and lied and lied and lied, and one day his lie, just like God always tells us in his word, you can build an entire mega church on a lie, but eventually it will crumble. And he lied. He said he had a dalliance with a woman. Robert Morris lied from the very moment he began telling that story. He was a liar, and he was hiding it. She was 12 years of age, and it was sexual assault. She couldn't consent, and he lied. His lie caught up to him years later. Same thing. By the way, I was talking about Tony Gonzales in the same way. You know, you can lie and tell us that, that didn't happen and keep lying and lying and lying, but one day your lie will catch up with you, and your lie has caught up with you now, Tony Gonzales. Resign. Did you guys see the cameras that were set up by the back and forth? There was Canada was totally cheating from what I saw in the curling. And curling is not a sport, dude. Unless you call brisk Swiffer sweepers into the ice a sport. It's not a sport, dude. It's a joke. You can be a chain smoker and go curling. I will tell you the half-pike skates where they went up, that's a sport. I consider it a sport. You have to be in massively good shape, and you do crazy death-defying stunts. So that's a sport, unequivocally. Curling is not. But Canada are mass cheaters. The men and women's team, there was video of them released. You see it where they push the curling thing on, they go to knock it a little bit more? Well, controversial Canada curlers take snide swipe at cheating critics after winning the Olympic gold. Mark Kennedy and his Canada team, he went F this, F that, and F you, and he freaked out like a little child. I told you this last week. Because like little kids, when they get caught cheating, they get angry and mad at you because they know they got caught and they're trying to distract. Mark Kennedy and his Canada team beat Britain on Saturday to leave the Winter Olympics as champions after a double-touching scandal where Kennedy was the target of complaint by angry Sweden team. They were the ones who got cameras on the side and they set it up and recorded them. It means the world to me to see my teammates with a medal around their neck, said this Kennedy guy with Canada. I don't know if people will ever understand what we went through this week as a team, what I put them through this week as a team. Yeah, because you're an a-hole. All right, this is great. My favorite story of the day, my last but most favorite story of the day is this. Peter Attia? Dr. Peter Attia is out as a CBS News contributor after his name appeared more than 1,700 times in the Epstein Files, a newly released batch of the Epstein Files. Hold on. Dr. Peter Attia is a longevity expert. Attia was on the job for less than a week when his relationship with the convicted pedophile was revealed. Wait a minute. How can a longevity expert only last 1 week at their job? He is, after all, a longevity expert. Can somebody explain that to me? What's up with that? Croc Talk with Chris Croc is brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com. IRSrob.com, helping good people with IRS problems and specializing in IRS controversies, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. I will see you tomorrow for tomorrow's podcast.